Hey gamers, Maniac here with GameAccess.net talking about a pre-order story that I don't think anybody in the history of the internet right now, or at least in the history of YouTube, actually remembers. Let me take you back many years ago and tell you a story about a pre-order that I placed for a game that came out, and as part of this game's release, or as part of me choosing to pre-order this game, I received extra content with that game. Now, I know that I could then use in the game's multiplayer and stuff like that. Now, I know what you're probably saying. Oh, you bought a game with DLC code. You got that game and you got a DLC code on your receipt and you put it through your console or redeemed it on Steam or whatever. And we do that every day. We do that. Every game does that pretty much. Everything is released via DLC codes. I have here what I think might actually be the very first case of what we would consider modern day DLC, or what would basically go on to become, or would be adjusted to come out with what we consider modern day DLC. Let me take you back to the year 2000 and the PC. Now, summer 2000, I was hanging out I was basically traveling across the state of California for the very first time. But I was keeping tabs with, I had a laptop with me, and I was keeping tabs with basically what was going on in the gaming news. This was before smartphones were a thing, and I didn't have a Palm Pilot yet. And so in order for me to basically keep tabs with the gaming news, I'd basically fire up my laptop, plug it into the phone line, call up my ISP's local number at the hotel. And that's typically what I would do. And there was a game that was being promoted that summer, throughout that summer, on a website, GameSpy.com, which is unfortunately now defunct, called Sanity, Aiken's Artifact. Nobody remembers this game. I've looked this up on YouTube, occasionally. I have not seen, maybe occasionally I've seen a Let's Play of it, but that's it. I haven't seen really any reviews of it. It's not available for digital download, although I think the demo might still be, traveling through the internet and stuff like that. But absolutely nobody remembers this game. And I think I have some theories as to why, but I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Let me tell you about the game. The game was developed by Monolith Software, who you might remember is a company that would go on to release No One Lives Forever and Fear and Condemned Criminal Origins. This game was released in the year 2000. Published by Fox Interactive. At the time, Fox Interactive must have had a deal with them, must have had a deal with Monolith, because Monolith would later go on not just to release this game through Fox Interactive, but also go on to release No One Lives Forever, Alien vs. Predator 2, Alien vs. Predator 2's expansion, although that was co-developed. And I think the deal went on to continue after Fox Interactive got bought by what would later become Vivendi Universal, which would then later get bought up by Activision. Which would be, I'm trying to remember what it was. No One Lives Forever 2 was pretty much released through that. So, and then of course there was also Tron 2.0, but that was through Disney Interactive. But at the time, Monolith had only released, as far as I can remember, I think they had released Shogo Mobile Armor Division. They weren't really as well a known company at the time because they had only had like that game and I think maybe Blood, the game Blood, under their belt. So, and I remember Blood 2 was not very well received. So, basically, Monolith wasn't the powerhouse or the well-known company that it was today. So, I know I told you this story, but I took a chance on this game for a couple of reasons. This game, when I first started seeing news about it, interested me for a lot of reasons. And the funny thing is that a lot of the reasons why this game interested me was its unique form of promotion, which, by the way, is common now. Now, what can I say about the game right now? Let me just give you a quick background of the game story. The game stars Ice-T as the main character, Kane. He is a psionic person who works for the Bureau of Psionic... I can't remember, the DNPC or something like that. He basically has psionic powers, which is pretty cool. He's voiced, like I said, he's voiced by Ice-T, who's awesome. The game basically did a promotion over the course of summer 2000 through GameSpy, where they basically did multiple things that are nowadays almost extremely common. many major releases for the game consoles do this. What did they do? The first release that they actually did for it was a multiplayer beta test. It was a closed multiplayer beta test that was available, as far as I know, only to people that at the time had registered GameSpy software codes. I think they probably did a lottery through all the people that were early GameSpy adopters, and they basically just emailed out codes access to the beta. And that was basically how they got around it. That's basically how it got around. It later got a full demo, which included the multiplayer beta on it. So the multiplayer beta became outmoded pretty quickly, which included not just multiplayer maps, but two levels in the game's single player, 2 or 3 levels in the game's single player campaign. So I downloaded the multiplayer beta. I really didn't have much time to play it, but I thought it was kind of interesting. But when the single player demo came out, which was, I think, out probably around a month or so before the game actually did come out, that caught my attention. The game really did interest me. I thought it was a really cool looking game. And while I knew I definitely needed new, video drivers for my computer to basically be able to play it, I thought it would run on my. The demo showed that I could run it on my system pretty easily. So I thought to myself, why don't I get interested in this game? Why don't I consider pre-ordering it? And it was being offered, for pre-order through like websites like Electronics Boutique, which is basically ebgames.com, which was Electronics Boutique's website. But there was an interesting thing that they were including or offering about this game's multiplayer that I haven't told you yet. The way that your character fought in this game. Now, in this game, you fought by basically using which were essentially talent cards, which, if you can see them here, very much were inspired by Magic the Gathering. The game shipped with 80 talents that could be used or found in single-player campaign. Some of them were secret that you'd have to go through and jump through hoops to find. Others were, just talents that you'd find under normal circumstances. But the way they were treated was like Magic the Gathering cards. And the concept behind it was that you can get more of them. They were going to be offering more cards as time goes on. And that's something that interested me quite a bit. Nowadays, you're probably saying to yourself, my God, you just described every game ever. This did it first. This game that nobody remembers did it all first. Let me tell you about the pre-order for this one. Now, obviously the game came out. This is the game CD right here, so let's put this away for just a second. And for anybody that pre-ordered it, they were promised this. 3 exclusive talents. And this is how they shipped. And I know for a fact that a lot of people didn't get these because they ran short on them. Because what ended up happening was that EB Games got these, in time for the pre-orders to ship out, but they didn't get these in time for the pre-orders to ship out. So what they did instead was, when they shipped out the game, they shipped out with actually another vendor's pre-order incentive. This Sanity comic book, which actually has an ad for No One Lives Forever on it, so let's talk about that later. But this comic book was actually offered for pre-orders as well. And some of the other retailers actually had this. Now, the funny thing about this was that Sanity Aiken's Artifacts comic book was actually supposed to be another retailer's. I couldn't remember which retailer it was, but this was actually meant to be another retailer's pre-order. But I wasn't really interested in this. I wanted this. I wanted the exclusive talents. And I had no idea why the exclusive talents, like I said, I wanted this. But I got this instead with my copy when it finally came in. However, that wasn't the only case on which exclusive talents were actually shipped. Do I not have it anymore? Did it run out? Oh, that's not good. No, that's not good. I guess it's gone. I actually had a floppy disk with a lot more, a 3.5-inch floppy disk with a lot more than just this. Over the course of the game's lifespan, which wasn't very long, It kind of, unfortunately, the game kind of crashed and burned pretty quickly, and I have my theories as to why. The game actually did offer a couple of opportunities for exclusive extra talents, not just these talents that were offered for pre-order. There was an issue of PC Gamer that shipped out a bonus CD that included several talents. There was a Real Player, for those of you who remember, the Real Player website actually offered for pay. I think it was like $15. They had 2 talent packs that worked in both the demo and in the and the original game. Basically, what would happen is that you paid Real Players. You go on Real Player's website, you purchase the pack, and then they'd send you the installer, and then the installer would install the talent packs, for the final, for the game. It would work on either the demo or the main or the main game. And I think Monolith's website offered one more, but overall, I don't think there were more than. I'm trying to think, maybe more than. I don't think there were more than like 10 or 11 total. I don't think there were, maybe 15 at most. I don't think there were more than that were ever offered for the game. And I think the game got decent reviews. It got an 8 out of 10 or an 8.5 out of 10 by most major reviewers. The Metacritic on this was not bad. The game was basically, like I said, 80, 85. It wasn't getting 7s, it wasn't getting 9s, it wasn't getting 10s, but it was certainly getting mid 8s, which I thought was that's unheard of these days. Nowadays it's like good games get 9 and bad games get 7. A game that got an 8 was basically just like considered meh. And that's unfortunate. But there was another thing that was going on, and that was that Monolith was working on not just this game, but they were also working on another game which was called No One Lives Forever. And that was a game that was easily a 9 out of 10 game. And I think what honestly happened with it was, unfortunately, that all the promotional money that either Fox Interactive or Monolith were basically pumping into this game, the second that they were getting ready to, ramp up for No One Lives Forever, all the intentions for this game basically just fell by the wayside. Like I said, nobody remembers this game because this game was supposed to have or what would be considered now a roadmap for future DLCs, which unfortunately never came. And as far as I know, most of that content, like I said, I was looking for a floppy disk. There's no floppy disk in here. I thought I left a floppy disk in here with all the stuff that I thought was backed up. I'm pretty certain I was the last human being. If I can't find that floppy disk, the pre-order data that was for this game, particularly for the Real Player stuff, or the stuff that used to be hosted on, or the one talent that was hosted on Monolith's old website, is probably lost forever. Granted, I still have the talent, the EB Games talent, so that's something. But yeah, maybe this is a sign for it to just be like the opening thing for how fleeting things like DLC actually is. Maybe this is like I said, because despite the fact I can't stress enough, this was a good game. This is a good game. I enjoyed it. Ice-T was fantastic in it. The game played well. It was hard, but you could beat it. Multiplayer with or without the talents was actually kind of fun. Although back then we were all playing on dial-up, so. But yeah, everybody I guess preferred No One Lives Forever, and so nobody remembers Sanity. And that's really unfortunate because maybe in a separate world there would be more Sanity DLC. Does anybody remember this game? Did anybody archive their talents? Like I said, maybe somewhere I have a floppy disk or something. I wouldn't have tossed out floppy disks like that. So maybe somewhere I have a floppy disk where that floppy disk is still around, or maybe I have the sources somewhere, maybe sitting on an old computer hard drive that I haven't tossed out. Unfortunately, as far as I know, this game doesn't work anymore. Not because the game doesn't work, but because there's one effect later in the game. There's like one puzzle challenge or something that I think doesn't work well if you have a computer that's over a 2000 or over a 2 gigahertz processor. I'm fairly certain that because I had a computer that I tried running this on like a 1.6 gigahertz processor, and it worked fine. And then I tried using it on like a 2.4 gigahertz processor, and it didn't work. And I couldn't figure out why not. And I think that it might have been like once you hit a certain bottleneck on the processor, the puzzle just won't work properly. So go figure on that one. But yeah, this is old school history. This is old school gaming history. This is what I consider my contemporary history. I was really hoping for more people to be remembering this game. So maybe this video takes off. People might actually, start talking about this. But I'll just tell you this right now. All the games that come out today with like exclusive pre-order DLCs and DLC codes and stuff, this is the forefather of that. And unfortunately, this game does not get the respect it's due. And it should. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. My name is Maniac with GameAccess.net. Take care. Over and out.